Good afternoon, and welcome again to another Chat with the Rev session. Before we begin our discussion this afternoon, I want to wish my wife, my companion of 17 years, Teresa Jeanette, aka Lady T, a happy anniversary. We've been married 17 years today. It was November the 4th, 1999, in the borough of Darby, Pennsylvania, that we tied the knot, jumped over the broom, figuratively, and we've been married ever since. I want to thank God for allowing us to come together, and I want to thank God for allowing us to stay together. I want to thank my wife, Teresa, in particular, because through her devotion and her love, we have sustained some very difficult days. We've undergone some difficult trials. But through it all, when the dust cleared, it was her and I standing together again. So I just want to wish her a happy anniversary. I love you, honey. Thank you. She's yelling in the background. Thank you. I love you too. We just had our anniversary film fest, if you will, a little comical moments, 50 minutes to be exact, where we shared. And you go to my wife's page there, Teresa Jeanette Scott at Facebook, and you'll see it. It was really a good time. We went out today. We had breakfast there together. I wanted to do a little bit more, but SEPTA's on strike here in Philadelphia, going into its third day, and we're not able to do all that we would like to do, but we were able to go out and have a nice breakfast, have a good time together. We rode around, both of us in our little wheelchairs, and we thank God for that. Here she comes. Here she comes. Come on, honey. Come on. This is my wife. There she is. Come on, honey. Here she is. See it? Say hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
Greet our folks.
Hi, folk. How are you?
She's great. She's great. One of them crazy, lazy, crazy days of, I would say summer, but we're in the fall, so too bad.
Too bad.
But we certainly thank you all for your prayers, for your support, both in our lives and our program, and everything that we've tried to do over these 17 years. Many of you know us as members of Hope and Hope School, Church School. We both work there. Many of our friends here, many of us know us in ministry. Many of us know us personally. Many of you are our family and friends that know us. So we thank you. We thank you for you supporting us on Blog Talk Radio. We thank you for supporting us here at Facebook and other places that you may find us. I have a YouTube channel. You go to G. William Scott, and there you'll find me there. So we just want to ask that you continue to pray for us, that the next year, the next years, days, months, and even decades and scores that we have yet to share with one another will even be the brighter, even the better than we have in the past. So God bless you, honey. Thank you so much, Lord, for giving me this fine woman. And I know that, yes, she's fine. She is fine. And I know that God will continue to lead us and direct us in a straight path. And we continue to let you know that we love you too.
We love you too.
We love you too, every single one of you. Thank you so much. Phyllis is there with us.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other people were there with us. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm just vying, just trying to see who's here. But anyone who stopped by, anyone who is here tarrying to listen to what is going to be said today, we thank you. We encourage you to invite others to be a part of even these few minutes that we're going to share this day, November the 4th. We invite you to invite others to share in this day. Well, thank you, honey, for stopping by. You have anything else to say to us?
It does sound like you're trying to tell me to get out.
Yeah, get ready to do the lesson now. My discussion about it. But I don't want you to leave too soon. If you got something to say it to us.
No. Happy anniversary.
Yeah, she just created the big book. Okay, thank you so much, dear. That's Teresa, Lady T, with a capital T, sure enough. Hey, man, you know, do fast, later, peace. Peace. Amen. We want to now turn our attention to our topic for this afternoon for our discussion. God bless you too, Prophetess Phyllis. We thank God for you and for your friendship. We love you too. We sure enough do. Well, we want to turn our attention to our subject matter for today, and it's really we're going to be talking about police violence against people with challenged abilities. This is a phrase that my wife coined. You know, I have a problem with using the term disability, but we're going to interchangeably use it because many of the documents and statistics that I have for you use that term. But we like the term, what my wife has coined, challenged abilities. Did you know that 1/3 of people that have suffered under police brutality, there is Ryan, our son Ryan. God bless you, Ryan. This is your mother and our 17th anniversary today. Glad to have you with us. But did you know that 1/3 of the people who suffer from police violence here in the United States of America, 1/3 are people with disabilities? Did you know that a half of the people that are killed by police officers, hello Ingrid, a half of the people that are killed by police officers are people with challenged abilities, people that have disabilities, a half. So for example, there were 920 people killed by police action last year, 2015. Half of that number would be 460. 460 of the 920 people that were killed last year. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the congratulations. And thank you also for this police violence thing you call the police violence thing. Thank you that you're not tying it into our thing. Because anniversary thing and police violence thing aren't the same, sure enough. But you think about it, half of the people that were killed last year, 2015, 420 were people with physical, developmental, and mental disabilities. I'm going to give you a few cases. Alfred Alango from California. He was killed, he was unarmed, and he was killed by the police while having a seizure. Killed by the police while having a seizure. Dante Hamilton, also unarmed, was fatally shot by the police. He was diagnosed as being a paranoid schizophrenic. My goodness, what's happening in our world today? Eric Gardner, we all heard about the Eric Gardner case. We saw it on video. Someone videotaped it and we saw it. How he was choked to death for selling loosies. I know it's against the law in New York and all of that, but my goodness, you mean you have to kill an unarmed man? You have to kill an unarmed man for selling loosies on the streets of New York? Eric also had a physical challenge, had a few in fact. He had multiple challenges. He was obese. He had chronic asthma. And he had a serious condition in his heart. Any one of these things, in fact, both of these things, I'm sure, contributed to his dying. They said that the paramedics came and they stood by and let him continue to die. He kept on saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And they put more and more pressure on his lungs, throwing him down to the ground, keeping their hands around his neck. Actually, they said he was using an illegal chokehold. You're not supposed to go around a man's windpipe. Woman either, for that matter. But we're talking about a man in this instance. They did everything that was illegal. And ironically, the grand jury there in New York didn't think it was enough evidence, even in spite of the fact that there was videotape, cell phones blasting about what happened in that instance. The paradox of it all is that the man who recorded it, he was thrown in jail, while the policeman who killed Eric Garner never even faced trial. We're talking about lives, whether lives matter or not. I don't believe people with challenged abilities, their lives matter at all. It's a travesty. The next instance was a man known as Ethan Saylor. Now, Ethan Saylor, he had Down syndrome. And one day he went to the movie theater to see a film, which he paid for. And after the film was over, he wanted to see the film again. They told him he'd have to pay another charge to see the film again. Keep in mind, this individual had Down syndrome, which affects your cognitive and your intellectual ability to understand and comprehend and grasp certain things. The management of the theater called two off-duty deputy sheriffs who were moonlighting as security guards and asked them to remove him from the theater. They forced him out of the theater and threw him to the ground. They handcuffed him and put him in a prostrate, restraining position for an hour. And while he was in that prostrating position, he died of asphyxia. In other words, he suffocated to death. 26-year-old man, Down syndrome. Said he weighed 294 pounds. All he wanted to do was watch the movie again. It was only a $10 movie. Come on. You mean that movie theater couldn't have absorbed that? She had to resort, whoever was in charge of the theater had to resort to calling in the authorities, the law enforcement authorities. It weren't even law enforcement. They were working as security guards, though they were deputy sheriffs off duty. And you mean to tell me these off-duty professionals, quote unquote, couldn't deal with this man who only crime was wanting to sit and watch the movie again? Never even asked him, did he have another $10? Never even asked him, could he afford to watch it again? Never asked him that. Just demanded he pay another ticket. And he maybe couldn't have totally grasped and understood what they were saying. He wanted to watch the movie. And we were so bent on standing and sticking with the law about things like this. Lucy cigarettes. Wanting to watch a movie again. And we have people out there that are doing horrific things. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, they're doing horrific things. And we're doing absolutely nothing or very little. To bring justice in those instances. Yet we'll kill somebody who already has physical challenges. We'll kill somebody who already has developmental challenges because they want to sell Lucy's and make a couple of dollars. They want to watch a movie they enjoy for a second time. And their lives aren't worth a plug nickel in the sight of those who have authority to use compassion, to use understanding, but instead they choose to use violence to the point of death. Another example that we've all heard of is Sandra Bland, You know the incident there. Sandra Bland, she lives in Texas, and she was pulled over because there was a problem with her back traffic light. Turn signal, I believe it was, something of that nature. Traffic violation. The police officer pulled her over, was going to cite her, and they had a verbal confrontation. He wanted her to put out her cigarette, and she refused. And so he grabbed her out of the car, and he arrested her after a whole lot of scuffling. And 3 days after her incarceration, a jailer came by and noticed that she was, quote, standing in an upright position while hanging in her cell. The coroner ruled it as being a suicide. The family and supporters and others around the nation said that it hinted of some foul play or something that was wrong, that something that was amiss in what was being reported. We later discovered that she had manic depression because of her having epilepsy. Maybe she had a seizure. No one didn't care. No one watched over her. Maybe she was depressed because she felt a seizure activity ready to rile up in her, because this was an emotional time. Keep in mind, this wasn't no just hand her a ticket and everything's okay and everybody went their own way. There was a scuffling and there was a problem there. There was a whole lot. That was once again videotape. You can go on YouTube and watch it. Hello, Deidre. She died because of a traffic violation. Once again, unarmed. None of these people that we just mentioned had any kind of weapons, not a knife, not a gun, nothing. And they're dead today. One man because he wanted to sell some Lucy's. Another man because he wanted to watch the movie for a second time. This woman because there was a traffic violation. And she wouldn't put out her cigarette at the command of the police officer. Come on. All kinds of ways to subdue somebody without resorting to the ultimate submission, which is death. Thank you, Deidre. She wishes us a happy anniversary. We thank you for that. Another incident. A North Carolina state trooper shot and killed a 29-year-old man known as Daniel Harris. Daniel Harris was deaf. He too was unarmed. And Harris was stopped over a speeding violation. Just a few feet from his home. Witnesses say that he got out of the car and was trying to attempt to communicate with the officers who were barking commands at him. Now keep in mind he's deaf, which means he cannot hear what's being said of him. My goodness. He was deaf. And they're barking out orders and commands at him as if he could hear. And they probably thought he was being defiant. He began to use sign language, and they said before he was out of the car for long, they shot him and killed him. Once again, traffic violation. Man couldn't hear, no matter what you said to him. He couldn't hear it. He couldn't hear it. Now, if a man was speaking another language, the police officer probably would have gotten on the horn and would have called someone who could translate the language that was being spoken. Well, sign language is a language. It's the way that deaf people communicate with each other and with the society. Only way they can communicate. For the most part. I know there's other ways they can do it. But I'm sure they didn't have no time for him to write something down and all of that. They didn't give him no time for that. As soon as he got out the car, they shot him. So there was no time for reasoning. There was no time to see just what for traffic violation. Come on now. That's not urgent. He's not a mass murderer. He's not a serial killer. He's not being charged with grand theft auto or burglary or whatever. Traffic violation. Just a few feet from his home. They could have confiscated the car and let him go home. But instead he did. Daniel Harris. 29 years old. Didn't even live long enough to even achieve anything really in life. Then we have a 36-year-old man named Joseph Weber. He had autism. And he was shot and killed by Hays, Kansas police officer. Weber, too, was stopped for a traffic violation. The officer was yelling, barking, once again, orders at him. And if anyone knows anything about people with with autism, you know, because that is really a developmental / mental condition. And it gets you out of sorts, and you just don't, you can't, I've known some people who had autism, and they can't stand screaming and can't stand, it gets them confused and befuddled. So what he did was, he got back in his car and sped off. And he went to the place that he used to go to that he felt secure in. It was a shelter that he used to work in. He used to socialize in with other people who had autism and other challenged abilities. He went there, he sat in his car, he felt a sense of relief now. He was calm. There was nobody yelling at him, nobody intimidating him. He was calm now. But of course the cops came. They followed him. They chased him to the place where he ended up being. As he heard the loud sirens of other police officers coming and approaching, as the one who was there was yelling and shouting, he just became distraught and he had a breakdown. And totally resisted anything that the police officers were trying to say to him. He too died that day. Nobody died for a violent crime. You understand that? Not these people that we just mentioned. Not one died for a violent crime. None were accused of a violent crime. In fact, some would say all the crimes are misdemeanors. What do you get for traffic violation? What do you get for selling loosies? They're misdemeanors. Staying in a movie house for another theater, a presentation of a film you like. That's a misdemeanor. That's not a felony. That's not a felony at all. Not even a high misdemeanor. Almost as a slap in the wrist and tell you to go home, or a fine at the worst. These people ended up dead. Because they could not communicate. They could not express themselves. They could not articulate. They could not even comprehend what was being told them and being requested of them, many of them. They were being browbeated and even intimidated to the point of pressing the issue to the point of creating the confusion that resulted in the situation. Sandra Bland, if you don't want to put out a cigarette, you're talking about a traffic violation. Come on now. Why did it have to escalate? Being arrested, incarcerated, and ultimately dead. These are just a very few. I said 460 died last year alone. These are just a few instances of how police officers, I can give you other instances. There was a man that was sitting on a cable car with his service dog, and because the conductor of the cable car didn't want the dog on, because it was a pit bull, although it was a trained pit bull, it was a certified pit bull to be a service dog. He didn't feel comfortable. The police officer pulled the man off along with the dog and told him to get off. Come on. There was an instance where there were 2 police women that were trying to book a quadriplegic that was in a wheelchair. And one of the police women thought he was faking and that he really wasn't paralyzed, but he was a quadriplegic. But she didn't believe it. So she tipped the chair over to see whether he would get up and walk. He just laid there because he really was a quadriplegic. You got to prove yourself, to prove that I'm disabled. I got to prove it to you. You don't believe me, I got to prove it. And if I don't want to prove it, then you're going to make me prove it by throwing me out the chair. There was a woman who was a quadriplegic and also who had cerebral palsy, and that's why she was quadriplegic. It really affected her entire body. She was a quadriplegic with cerebral palsy. And so the police came in there in a drug raid, and she was laying there in her bed naked. And the police officer ordered her to get up. And she and her husband both, who was a disabled veteran, told the police officer that she was a quadriplegic and she had cerebral palsy and she couldn't get up. He tried to force her up. The husband, who once again was a disabled veteran, tried to stop him from pulling up, and they beat him to a pulp and arrested him. Oh, there's so many examples. Police need to be trained to be sensitive. We know how things are with black young men and police officers, even black young women, because Sandra Bland was a black young woman. This quadriplegic woman was a black woman. But they also had challenged abilities. We have to train these men and these women that take an oath to protect, defend the citizens of this nation and the city and the county and the state that they live in from any hurt, harm, and danger. You shouldn't have to need protection from the protector, but we do. We do. These stories just prove that ableism, and we know the definition, is the prejudicial discrimination and bias towards people with disabilities, people with challenged abilities. Ableism is alive and well here in the United States of America. And these are the extreme examples where you can be challenged mentally, developmentally, and physically, and lose your life because of it. Throughout this election season, I like what Ryan says, and then maybe I need to pause and I want to read this to you, what my son says. He says, I don't buy that they need to be trained. I've never been trained in how to treat people with disabilities. It's really just being human, isn't it? They just don't care. You can't teach that. I've been saying that forever, haven't I? I've been saying that in many of these classes that we have, in many of these chats that we have. That it's a matter of attitude. You can't legislate attitude. You can't legislate disposition. And you certainly can't train people to be kind, sensitive, compassionate, and caring. You're absolutely right, Ryan. You're absolutely right. Here we are in the eve of an election in 2016. A whole lot of mudslinging going on, a whole lot of talk about fighting this and fighting against that and fighting against the other by the candidates. We're going to fight to improve the education of our children. Worthy. Bravo. Excellent. We're going to fight for civil rights for African Americans and same-sex relationships. Bravo, excellent. We're going to fight to put up a wall to keep illegal immigrants out. I ain't going to say bravo to that because I think there's a racial and there's a bias to that. But we're going to fight for it nevertheless. We're going to fight. We're going to fight against ISIS. We're going to fight against this. We're going to fight against injustice. We're going to fight against discrimination. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. Some just causes and some unjust causes. But we're going to fight. They talk about fighting everything and everybody. But no one has been talking about fighting for the equality, the justice, the equity, the inclusion for those with physical, developmental, and mental challenges. Most of the candidates have, and I don't care whether it's presidential candidates, senatorial candidates, congressional candidates, city council candidates, whatever, state representatives, whatever the case may be. No one's talking about anything about people with physical, developmental, and mental challenges. Not in a fighting way. Or they'll drag them out onto the podium to let you see this poor, broken life. That we care about you, no specifics. Nobody talking about fighting nothing. But like Ryan said, you can't change hearts, baby. In fact, there wouldn't be no Republican candidate, the one that we have now. There would not be a Ku Klux Klan and all of that if hearts of this country were really changed. They would not do what they do and throw people in institutions, and we wouldn't have the highest crime rate and the highest amount of black men in prison than any country in the world if hearts were changed, sure enough, in this country. If hearts were changed about people who have challenged abilities and not look at them as freaks and lesser thans, then we would want to understand. I would send with my team of officers someone who can relate to someone who is deaf. I would send with my team of officers someone who could relate to someone who has a mental disorder, who has schizophrenia or depression, who has paranoia, schizophrenia, and all the rest of that. There's somebody that can understand that, someone who can understand autism, who's sensitive to that. There's a way to do it. Ryan is putting in quotes, and that's what's being said of us. It's not always what is the truth about us. He says we're known to be the most compassionate nation on earth. But I beg to differ, and I think when he puts it in quotes, he's begging to differ that point that's been made about us. We're also in quotes, liberty and justice for all. Also in quotes, we're supposed to be a democracy. A democracy is supposed to be created and for all the people. When a democracy is not established for all the people, then it's not a democracy at all. That's right. If a democracy does not benefit, it is not created for all of the people. All of the people should have a say. All of the people should be considered. All of the people should be treated with justice and equity and with the same amount of respect as everybody else. When that's not done, you're not a democracy. You're faking the funk. You're a scam. You're a hypocrite. You're a liar. Let's start to become who we claim to be. I was watching in the news, and this is a little off the point, but it is somewhat related to the point. I was watching on the news about what's happening over there in North Dakota concerning this oil pipeline and how they're being treated. Native Americans. If you look at Native Americans, everybody is an illegal immigrant. They're the original members of this continent. This country and every other country in the Western Hemisphere. Native Americans. And they're treated lower than low. Everybody came here from somewhere else. Now, black folk, they came here on a boat, not to their own liking, but they were being forced over here. Other people came because of other reasons. Some came, they were prisoners. They had to come over as a punishment. Others came because they wanted to explore the new world and all that. But everybody came from somewhere else. And when they got here, they met with the American, the indigenous people of this nation. And the first thing they did was take it over. The immigrants took it over. Talk about immigrants. I know some of the ads, immigrants have killed this and killed that. Well, the immigrants that came and started killing and massacring Native Americans, what's the difference? But only difference is you did it by the millions. Talk about one man killed another man. Okay, that's a bad thing. No one should be killed by nobody. But you're harping on that, and you forget that our history is killing millions of Native Americans. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the injustices to other people, including people with physical, developmental, and mental challenges. To me, it's a travesty that a third of the people that have been brutalized with violence are people with disabilities. It's a travesty that half of the people that have been killed by police officers. In 2015, we mentioned it, I'll say it one more time for those who came late. There were 920 people killed by police officers, and 460 of them were people with disabilities, challenged abilities. Something has to be done. We cannot sit back, both those who are able-bodied and those who are challenged, and see your fellow citizens, no matter who they are, regardless of their race, their religion, their ethnic origins, or their physical, mental, or developmental challenge. They should not be discriminated against, and each of us must stand against it. I do these broadcasts every Monday and Friday to make those who are able-bodied, who don't know many people who have physical or developmental or mental challenges, who do not know the struggles that we have. I want to make you aware so you can understand our struggle is the same. Nobody wants to be denied. Nobody wants to be hurt because of a traffic violation, because you sold some Lucy's, because you want to watch a movie for the second time. Because you can't hear the orders of somebody as they're telling you to pull over or whatever, because you're deaf. You can't get out of bed because you have cerebral palsy and you're quadriplegic. Something's wrong when we've gotten to be so insensitive and so uncaring in this country that even the authorities who have sworn to protect us no longer protect us, but are our biggest hindrance. And the greatest threat comes not so much from the outside, but from the inside. Well, I hope that you got a little something out of this afternoon. Police violence in and towards people with disabilities in the disability community, toward those who have challenged abilities. We have to cut all of this out. We have to begin to care. Deidre McBride says, we as a people are supposed to be loving, caring, and compassionate people, but society has dictated another kind of behavior. Every man for himself. Hey, Arthur Burgess, one of my students at the school I taught in. Mark Morris is here also. Society has dictated that we have another kind of behavior. Every man for himself. Get what you can get out of it. Don't care about nobody else. I picked myself up out of my bootstraps and I made it on my own and all. Nobody made it on their own. Everybody had help somewhere along the way. Somebody showed you a glimpse of kindness, a hand of help, an arm to lean on, a shoulder to lean on. Every one of us, hey Arthur, every one of us have needed someone to show a little bit of kindness, a little bit of understanding. Maybe give us a chance in life. How many of you have had someone who come into your life that gave you a chance in life? And if it wasn't for them opening up a door for you, that door would have never been opened. Someone gave you another opportunity to get whatever you did wrong right again. Expunged your record. Didn't report you for what you did, and they gave you another chance to get it right. Somehow or another, something went your way. If there are people out there who have to face things every day, have to face a challenge every single day, and it seems like nobody wants to reach out and help them or understand them in any way, shape, or form. Things have got to change. Police violence against anyone is a horrendous act, I think, of cowardice. But when you have an unarmed person who's deaf, an unarmed person who has Down syndrome, an unarmed person who has chronic asthma and is obese and has heart trouble, or an epileptic who has seizure activity, and you have no sympathy or empathy for them, I think it says a lot about your character or a lack of it. Well, until next time, we're going to meet on Monday. Now, Monday's a little different. I don't know how we're going to do this. It is my birthday. I'll be 65 years old on Monday, November the 7th. So I don't know whether it will be on or not. I'll let you know on the weekend. I may just record a little something at the party. That's probably what I'm leading that way. A little something at the party. Show you that even people that have physical challenges can have a little fun every now and then. And show you just what is going to happen then. But we want you to continue to support us, but not us in the sense of me. Support us in the sense of this cause and the purpose we are here for. And that is to bring to light that everybody, everywhere, has a right to prosperity, to happiness, to justice, and equality. Until next time, that'll be Monday, we'll say goodbye. And remember, God has a purpose for you and mine. And to be honest with you, the best is yet to come. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.